Kowalski, who's that guy in front of us rising out of the water?
It is I, Barack Obama.
Mr. Obama, what are you doing here?
I have come to exact my revenge on you penguins for allowing my wife to die at the hands of Donald Trump.
But Mr. Obama, we did everything we could.
I've already made up my mind.
Mr. Obama, don't do it. This won't bring Michelle back.
Nigga.
Is this the energy we're starting off this video with? That's the energy we're starting off this video with. Okay then. Does anyone even remember this movie anymore? Like, for exactly one day in May, everyone hated this movie that hadn't even come out yet. For those not infested with film Twitter, this is Loqueesha, a movie starring, directed, written, and produced by Jeremy Salville. The story focuses on a white man who impersonates a black woman for a radio show to get money for his son. In May, the trailer received a lot of criticism, with people calling it racist, misogynistic, and a form of cultural appropriation. The defense that the creators had come up with against the critics was, just wait until it comes out. Even so, the film festivals that accepted it removed it from their screenings and everyone forgot about it. And so it was released on Amazon Prime a few weeks later, and I decided to challenge them on their defense. And I must admit, this is the worst movie I have ever seen. Like, this has obtained so bad it's bad status. Do not put any money into watching this film. In technical criticism, the movie's music is sponsored by the YouTube audio library because it's all royalty-free garbage that never actually fit the scene that it's meant for. And the writing is absolutely horrible. Every scene in this movie drags on for what feels like forever. And nobody in this movie can act. But what do I know? The script might have just been so bad that they didn't put the effort to try and act. I'm not really going to be talking about whether or not this movie is racist or sexist. That's really up to what you believe. But I don't want you to watch this movie, so here's the synopsis. The story follows a bartender named Joe. He isn't at his best as his wife divorced him and he doesn't get to talk to his son that much anymore. He gives blunt and funny, unasked for advice to the drunk attendants at his bar, and he's always right about everything he gives advice on. But one day, one of the attendants, who is black, this is important, Rachel, encourages Joe to submit a demo tape to a local radio show. He thinks of this as an opportunity to get money for his son's tuition for a gift at school. Unfortunately for him, he gets rejected. Because of that, he decides to impersonate a black woman under the name loqueesha when he notices that the local radio show is looking for a woman and minority. He hesitates to do it at first, but then he thinks he should do it for his son. Because of that, he gets the job, but he has to maintain his secret that he is actually a white man to the station managers and the listeners. He hires a black producer named Mason and a black woman, Renee, to act as loqueesha on camera. The show becomes a huge success, and Oprah's own network wished to expand the radio show into television, to Joe's dismay. After finding out that loqueesha was ruining his relationships and wasn't actually benefiting his son's life, he ends the show, leaving Mason and Renee to the dust. Renee decides to run the show all on her own, bringing ratings to an all-new low, because instead of being straight up, she's just being a plain meaniehead. Joe doesn't like that loqueesha isn't living up to the standard he set out, so he comes clean to the radio station managers and the entire town. Most of the town is actually quite forgiving to Joe, but some have mixed emotions about this reveal, including the bar attendant who gave Joe the idea for the show, Rachel. But it's okay, because she's in love with him. After posting a poll on social media on whether they should A. keep the show but have Joe no longer play loqueesha, B. keep the show completely with Joe playing loqueesha, or C. cancel the show altogether, the vote ends with a tie, with the new show being the Joe Show, and him also still playing loqueesha in her show. The end. Also, there's an ignored part of the story where loqueesha actually possesses Joe, and Joe needs to talk to her in order to maintain control, but they never address this at any other point of this movie. Oh boy, there is a lot to tackle here, but I think there's one main overarching problem. Savile makes Joe a character who can do no wrong, has done no wrong, and is completely right about everything. I think this problem is shown in several different ways, so let me break it down. this movie had too much of a simple story for a very complicated topic. I think they could have benefited from a bit of satire and self-awareness. This movie tried to do that, I guess. They do say how weird Joe is for doing the whole operation at the end of the movie, and they say that Joe is kinda wrong. That's satire, right? But is it though? Because satire is when you make fun of the idea by sarcastically praising it or imitating it. Everyone is in on the joke here. But Jeremy Saville doesn't seem to be sarcastically praising it. He seems to be genuinely in favor of Joe. He's not joking. Throughout his script, Saville continuously defends Joe after he lampshades the issue through someone pointing out his mistakes, and Joe never changing it. So maybe if he made it clear that Joe is not perfect, great, or at all a good person, we could have avoided this issue in the first place. If you look at Jeremy Saville's comparisons for the movie, he compares it to this one SNL sketch from 2015 called This Is How I Talk. The premise is basically this guy, Donald, is accused of impersonating the boss's voice, which is a classic black ghetto girl accent. But instead of owning up to his mistake, he claims that it's his real accent and carried on this charade for 5 years.
So you're saying this is how you actually talk?
I'm talking like my mama taught me to talk, and if you clowning on my mom, then you's about to get bounced.
The SNL sketch is quite self-aware and knows that Donald impersonating the boss is wrong. He actually gets criticism for his co-workers about it. Everyone involved knows that it's not okay that he did it.
Dude, what the hell was that?
I don't know, I just got caught and I panicked.
Well, what are you gonna do now?
I mean, I need this job, I'm just gonna have to stay this way.
And in the end, when he's caught faking, he actually gets reprimanded and punished for his actions, which is much more than loqueesha can say.
I'd like to buy you a drink, Joe.
Boy, this must be a special occasion.
Well, we're all very proud of you. We all think you're completely crazy, but we also think you're a freaking genius.
Probably be right on both counts.
Joe feels entitled to the position of the show because he gives good advice. My problem with it is not that he doesn't give good advice, even though sometimes he doesn't.
We back, and you live with loqueesha. Go ahead.
I'm on a bridge above the river, and I'm gonna jump.
But thanks for calling. Enjoy your jump.
My problem is the fact that he is not entitled to the show. The station managers clearly stated that they were looking for minorities and women. They weren't looking for some white guy who's holier than thou, but hey, he made us money, so I guess we'll keep him. Joe could have just as easily made a podcast for this idea, like a normal white guy. And if he actually wanted to get money for his kid, he definitely should have chosen a much more stable job than a failing radio station on a show running at 2 a.m. in 2019. Okay. Let's be real here. Let's be real with ourselves here. We gotta talk about these black people. Oh my gosh, how do we get there? There are three main ones: Mason, Renee, and Rachel. Okay. Mason is the producer of the show and basically has no reasons to be in the movie at all. All he does is just be Joe's #1 black friend. Haha, Joe, you're crazy. Oh, that loqueesha, classic Joe. Here, Joe, here's your lifetime N-word pass. They really just needed another black person to get behind this idea, the show, and this movie, apparently.
This is a comedy. It's a story about one guy who does the wrong thing for the right reasons, and ultimately he pays the price.
What's price, Dwayne? What freaking price?
Renee is the picture of loqueesha that they use for all the promotional material and at fan meetups and such. She's the other ghetto black woman stereotype that isn't a white guy. She's the villain of the movie and only likes being loqueesha for the money and not for the heart. But most importantly, she's the first person that calls out Joe.
But at least I'm a real black woman, and the only thing you doing is up in here stealing people's identity. You an identity thief.
I didn't steal anybody's identity. I made her up.
Oh, you an identity thief. You might not be an individual identity thief, but you're a cultural identity thief. You done stole an entire culture's identity, not to mention the genders, and co-opted it for your own little charade.
However, the message is immediately dismissed because she's saying it just to get the show from him. She can't be right because she's the bad guy. What does she know about blatant racism? Rachel is Joe's love interest and the other person that Joe can call on for his black card. And my god, she is by far the most confusing character this movie has. Rachel is the second person that calls out Joe on the moral implications of the show.
Oh, you are such a jerk.
Oh, it hurt.
You think all black women sound like that? Yo, what up? How you doing? You're a racist and a misogynist.
No, it was just a...
Theatrical device. Why'd you have to make us sound so stupid?
Well, if she was so stupid, then why did you follow her advice?
What she said was brilliant. But this over-the-top character, that was completely idiotic.
This could have, and I believe was supposed to have a bigger impact on the audience, as this is someone that we're supposed to like and trust. Rachel knows that this is racist, misogynistic, and just really bad. Just bad. Really bad. Rachel was canceled out by the fact that after only meeting Joe 3 times, and Joe emotionally manipulating her through the veil of loqueesha. Oh, wait. Did I mention that? Yeah, so Rachel called loqueesha on her show asking for advice about wanting a relationship with Joe. So loqueesha responds with advice in total favor of Joe, and Joe goes home fully knowing that Rachel was coming to his house and promptly gets possessed by the spirit of loqueesha. And oh my god, I wish that the rest of the movie was about that, because that would have made it 1,000 times better. But you know, 1,000 times 0 is still 0, so... But anyway, despite all of that, she's in love with him. They're in love with each other. And you have to love someone despite their incredibly insensitive flaws. And so it's good. And none of her claims are valid, because they're in love now. And so she sees the light. I'm kind of glad that this movie got way less attention after the trailer dropped, that all of the internet agreed to just not watch the movie. I'd like to formally apologize for even watching this movie, a bad move on my part, but I kind of felt the need to, because I think that someone needs to analyze it so that it doesn't happen again. A question that you might have first had when this video started, but soon forgot because now you have more questions, is why did I use the infamous Mrs. Obama Get Down clip? Well, I thought it would catch interest. And I also think this movie is just as effective as using the N-word to stop racism. We've stereotyped black women. The world is now okay. To live in the world of Jeremy Saville must be a wonderful thing. I think a lot of people hated this movie because it had such a hard concept to work with. When I was watching the scene of a movie before they hired Renee to play loqueesha, Joe says something like, "It's a shame I can't dress up with her." But it's such a strange and offensive concept. Is it necessarily bad? Is there actually such thing as a bad concept? Or is it just bad execution? And this sorcerer will... Okay, now this video is getting a bit long for me to actually attempt to fix the story, so maybe come back later.
Excuse me, this is the bomb.
Hey, hey, hey!
As a matter of fact, I have top secret mission that's perfect for top secret.
This is on. Boys and I.
They all go together.
Bomb.